Brittany Killgore knew she shouldn't have trusted the man sitting beside her in the white Ford Explorer, and she regretted it now. As she checked the time, she realized that the hornblower cruise that she had wanted to go to had long left the dock with its group of excited party animals. Looking around at the man who was driving her away to some unknown place, she knew not yet where, she quietly reached out for her phone. Locating the message icon on her touchscreen cell phone, she tapped her fingers on the virtual keyboard and pressed send. She just hoped it would reach the person, and they made it on time to rescue her. A woman's phone buzzed, signaling the arrival of a new text message. She reached out for her phone to unlock it, only to gasp at the screen. On it was just a single word, help. She looked at the time and noted it had been only 10 minutes since her friend, Brittany, had left with Luis Perez at 7:40 p.m. Worried, she dialed her friend's phone several times, only for it to not get answered. After nervously pacing around for some time, almost to the point of breaking down, she finally received another text message. She almost dropped her phone in the process of unlocking it and read the message. It simply said her friend was enjoying the cruise. However, she knew it was not her friend. Her friend did not write that way. Brittany Killgore, 22, was the wife of a Marine Lance Corporal, Corey Killgore. At the time, he was deployed to Afghanistan, so she was all alone. She was from a small town in Pennsylvania. Even though Brittany had met Corey at 18 or 19 and gotten married, after just 2 months, their relationship fell apart. Brittany found herself growing lonely by the second, living alone at the boot camp in Camp Pendleton, and soon the couple grew apart from each other. Being unable to stand it any longer, she filed for a divorce. It was on the night of April 13, 2012, when she was at her apartment on Ammunition Road in Fallbrook, packing her bags to leave, that somebody showed up and asked her to go out with him. She refused several times, but the man stashed a piece of paper with his phone number written on it into her hands. Killgore, being distressed about her heavy furniture, gave in and texted him to ask some help in moving. It is to be considered that she did not have many friends, but had to reach out to the few people she did know for some help. The reply she got was, "Party with me tonight, and you'll have 5 guys there in the morning." Though she had no interest in him, she thought she could go with him. It was her last chance to enjoy the Hornblower cruise before she moved away. This person was Luis Ray Perez, a former Marine Staff Sergeant. Brittany knew Luis from a friend named Elizabeth Hernandez, who was friends with Perez's girlfriend, Dorothy Grace Maraglino. She often visited Maraglino and brought along Killgore. However, there was a problem in their seemingly normal lives. Perez and Maraglino were engaged in a BDSM relationship with another woman being in their pact, named Jessica Lopez. BDSM stands for bondage, discipline, and sadomasochism. It means that one person acts as a slave, while the other, the master. But there were 3 people, so it definitely wasn't that normal of a BDSM. Perez was a sadist. He enjoyed torturing his sex partners. He choked them almost 25 to 30% of the times that he had sex with them. He had outrageous fantasies about abducting his victims and engaging in violent acts like dragging heavy chain and knives across their bodies. He was said to be a safe player, as he always acted on his partner's consent. However, he was found beating a woman to the point of unconsciousness with several BDSM tools while she begged him to stop in a video. While he was the master of the house, Maraglino was his slave. She was in an open relationship with Perez, but was always insecure about having him taken away by another woman. So when Killgore barged into their lives, she obviously wasn't happy. She only saw her as a rival because she believed Killgore was flirting with her boyfriend, who, by the way, had no interest in him. There had been several instances when Maraglino had slit a woman's throat as she was having sex with Perez. She threatened to kill the women he went to see occasionally, and once abducted a woman named Nicole from a parking lot, and blindfolded and undressed her in the basement of her home, and she and Perez restrained to engage in their BDSM play. After that, Nicole voluntarily became Maraglino's slave, along with Jessica Lopez. Lopez was a slave to Maraglino. She was the masochist slave while Maraglino was her master, so Maraglino switched roles. Being the dominant one of the two, Maraglino had written procedures for everything, be it the house manual or the perfect slave checklist. Jessica was her property and was made to wear a dog collar to display it. But she wasn't just that. Once she had abducted, tortured, and killed someone she didn't like. To dispose of the body and douse any evidence, she had bleached it. So it was just that the three of them were some sort of monsters craving pleasure from others' pain. Killgore's friends called the police. The police found out from them that Perez was the last one to have seen her. The surveillance footage had recorded Perez entering the complex at 7:36 p.m., so he became their person of interest. But they couldn't place any charges against him yet. They called him up and ordered him to come to Killgore's apartment to talk in person. Even though it had rained the night before, his car had fresh mud caked on it. Believing him to be suspicious, the police transported him to the sheriff's office. They conducted a search of his car and found a stolen weapon inside of it. Immediately, he was charged with theft. Later that afternoon, someone turned in Killgore's missing phone in San Diego. Her phone records showed that on the night of the 13th, she was near Maraglino's house with Perez and Lopez's phone being at the same location. But at 9:20 p.m., her cell phone location, along with Perez's, showed him driving toward San Diego. This was even more suspicious, as her friends could not reach her for a long time. The next day, on the 15th and 16th, the police did a customary check of Maraglino's house. However, there seemed to be items missing, as though it had recently been cleaned. They got a search warrant for Maraglino's truck, which they found parked in a hotel near San Diego Airport. Maraglino and Lopez had a room registered on their name, and upon reaching the said room, the police found Lopez inside, her throat cut and half naked. She had 3 copies of a 7-page handwritten confession letter hanging in the bathroom. Lopez broke down and confessed to killing Killgore. She described Killgore as a bitch who was trying to come in between Perez and Maraglino. She iterated how she had grabbed Killgore, restrained her wrists, ankles, and mouth, incapacitated her with a taser, choked her with a rope, mutilated her body with power tools, doused her body with bleach, and dumped it near Lake Skinner. She at last revealed how much she loved Maraglino, who was now on her way to Virginia for a family reunion. Though the police believed her rant, they knew she wasn't the only one who did all that to Killgore. They got her to the hospital and then arrested her, and as stated by Lopez, they found Killgore's body a mile outside of Lake Skinner. Even though it was heavily mutilated, the tattoo that read Eileen on her wrist, the name of her grandmother, proved that it was her. Upon searching Maraglino's house again on April 19th, the police recovered several BDSM videos, documents, and tools used for whipping and asphyxiation. They also found writings from the night of April 13th, where she released her anger towards Perez and asked him to deliver justice. She was arrested in May of 2012. They also found plastic bags containing food, disposable gloves, and a stun baton from Perez's car. It had Perez's DNA on the handle, but Killgore's DNA on the prong. At the trial, Perez admitted to having lied to Killgore, then taking her to Maraglino's house where they had engaged in their BDSM play. He also told them how he'd used Killgore's phone to text her friends, and then drove all the way down to San Diego to dispose of it, lest he could be traced to her. The 3 of them were held at $3 million for bail without parole. Ultimately, the trial went on for a while. It always did for those cases involving such abnormal sexual conduct. But the 3 were charged with abduction, manslaughter, and sexual battery. After all these years, these criminals still remain in jail in San Diego.